With your vehicle safely raised and supported, take off all 6 lug nuts using a 21mm socket, and then remove the wheel. If your wheel is stuck on like this one, go ahead and thread a lug nut back on. Get a large rubber mallet and hit it from the backside. Always hit the tire, not the rim. There we go. And remove your wheel. Once the wheel is off, let's go ahead and remove the outer tie rod first. Remove the locking cotter pin that holds this castle nut in place. And with a 19mm, go ahead and remove this nut. Start it in just a few threads so that when I take the tie rod off, and then go ahead and hammer right here on the knuckle. That's going to break the tie rod free from the knuckle. Now remove this nut and pull the tie rod out of the knuckle. Next step is going to be removing these 4 14mm bolts that are here for the lower ball joint, and there's 2 on each side. Now I can lift my knuckle up and off of here. Next I'm going to remove the cotter pin that holds this lower nut in place. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut it because it's not coming out, it's just super rusty. With it cut, I'm gonna hammer on a 24mm. And remove this nut. At this point, there are several methods that you can go about removing this. You can use a pickle fork, you can bonk on the lower control arm here, or you can drive the stud up. Obviously this is a ball joint replacement procedure, so we don't care about the stud. So I'm going to first try by hammering the stud upwards. And there we go, it popped free. So lift this up, lift up your ball joint, and there you have your old lower ball joint. This is optional, but I'm going to put just a little bit of anti-seize on this area here. That's going to help the ball joint, well, to not seize. And it's going to prevent some rust buildup as well. Take your new ball joint, lift up on the knuckle, slide it into its hole, and set the knuckle down onto the ball joint. Make sure it lines up properly. Install your new castle nut and snug it up. And torque this to 103 foot-pounds. Now, if your hole does not line up with the cotter pin, you need to go ahead and keep tightening, not loosening. Right there. Insert your new cotter pin, lock it down. I'm going to go ahead and start the bolts in. It can be a little bit tricky to line up, but just turn the ball joint, turn the knuckle, pivot it back and forth. Just make sure the holes line up, and then start your bolts in, make sure they're not cross-threaded. And do the same on this side. All right, now with all of them started, go ahead and snug them up, and then we'll torque them. Torque all 4 of these to 59 foot-pounds. Next step is to put the tie rod back on and reattach your castle nut. Bottom it out. Torque this to 67 foot-pounds and reinstall your cotter pin. Bend it over Next, let's get the wheel back on. Next, get the wheel back on. Start on all 6 lug nuts, and then I'll bottom them out, torque them to 83 foot-pounds.